Hi everyone. Our story today is called One Snowy Night. It's cold in the park in winter, but Percy the park keeper doesn't mind. He puts on his warm coat and his big scarf and 2 pairs of woolly socks inside his Wellington boots. Percy likes to be out in the fresh air. In the middle of the park, there's a little hut. This is where Percy lives. And when it gets too cold to be outside, Percy goes into his hut, where it is warm and cozy. The animals who live in the park all know Percy's hut. Every day he shares his lunch with them. One winter's night, it was so cold it began to snow. Great big snowflakes fell past the window of Percy's hut. "Brrr," said Percy, "I think I'll need an extra blanket tonight." And he made himself some hot cocoa, and he got ready for bed. Suddenly Percy heard a tap, tap, tap sound. It was somebody at the door. "Now, who can that be at this time of night?" thought Percy, and he went to the door and he looked out. Look, there's Percy's cup of hot cocoa, and here's Percy looking out the window to see who is at the door. There on the step was a squirrel. It looked very cold and miserable. "I can't go to sleep, Percy," said the squirrel. "My bed is full of snow." "Oh dear," said Percy, "never mind. I've got plenty of room for 2. Poor little squirrel on the doorstep. He's so cold, his bed is full of snow. The squirrel snuggled down next to Percy and soon began to feel warm. Knock, knock, knock went the door again. Now who can that be? Thought Percy. Here's Percy snuggling up with the squirrel. But someone else is knocking at the door. Standing outside were 2 shivering rabbits. "It's freezing," said the rabbits. "You're frozen." "We're frozen," said the other rabbit. "You poor things," said Percy. "Come in and warm up." The rabbit squeezed into the bed next to Percy and the squirrel. There wasn't much room. "Can you face the other way?" Percy asked the squirrel. "Your tail is tickling my nose." Knock, knock, knock. "Oh dear," said Percy. "Now there's someone else at the door. Here are the 2 rabbits. They are frozen. They want to come inside too." It was a fox. He looked very cold and hungry. "Of course. Can I come in too?" he asked. Percy scratched his head and thought for a minute. "Well, if you promise to behave," he said. "I promise," said the fox, and he squeezed into bed next to all the other animals. Bump! Oops! The squirrel fell out. "Who did that?" asked the squirrel crossly. Knock, knock, knock. "Goodness gracious," said Percy, "it's the door again." This time Percy had quite a surprise. There on the top was a badger, 2 ducks, a hedgehog, and a whole family of mice. They all wanted a bed for the night. Whoa, Percy's got more visitors. Poor old Percy and poor old Percy's bed. The animals pushed and shoved and rolled around the bed, and there was just not enough room for them all. Soon the bed covers ended up in a big, tight ball. Oh dear, everybody is wriggling. Then bump, the covers rolled right off the bed and everybody fell onto the floor. "Oh dear," said Percy, "this won't do at all. My bed is just too small." Suddenly one of the mice pricked up his ears. "What's that noise?" he squeaked. Everybody listened hard. Now they could all hear it. There was a scratch and scraping sound. It seemed to be coming from underneath them. "And there is something moving under the floor," whispered Percy. "I wonder what that could be." The animals looked frightened, and the mice all started to squeak at once. "Oh dear, what can it be? It might be a monster, with fierce claws and sharp teeth." The noise got louder and louder. Then one of the floorboards began to move. "Look out! It's coming up through the floor." Suddenly there was a loud creak. "Help!" cried the animals, and they all ran to hide. But Percy wasn't frightened at all. He started to chuckle, and then he laughed out loud. Ha! A small little dark head was sticking up through the floorboards. "I wonder what that could be." This isn't a monster," said Percy. "It's a mole." "I'm sorry to burst in like this," said the mole. "I knocked on the door, but nobody heard me." Percy helped the mole up through the hole in the floor, sat him on his hot water bottle to get warm, and put the floorboard back. "It's all right, everyone," he cried. "You can come out now. Look who it was. It's Mr. Mole." But nobody moved. Nobody stirred. Nobody wanted to come out. The squirrel was tucked away in the pocket of Percy's dressing gown. The hedgehog was in his coat. The fox, the rabbits, the badger, and the ducks were all hidden safely away. The mice had even squeezed themselves into Percy's slippers. Everyone had found a cosy bed. "Well, I never," said Percy. Percy yawned and snuggled down in his own bed once again. "That's better. Now I've got plenty of room," he said, "and even a little to spare for a mole." Can you see the mole tucked up with Percy? Night, night, everyone.